Hello once again, and welcome to the fourth and final episode of the journey to woke. Oh my goodness, in case you're new here, my name is Neo Victoria Rangaka, and I have written a book. What is it about? It is a memoir about my life, but two things that I'll be focusing on that can help you with your journey to being woke, and not woke in the way that you know it, but in your journey to awakening to yourself. Two of my main focuses is knowing God and knowing yourself, knowing your identity and having self-awareness, which is a tool that I believe is biblical, but I will show you through my story exactly how God has used it in my life. And we are at the fourth and final episode. And where I am right now in terms of the process of the book is a very interesting spot. But I am believing God for, first of all, a miracle. Second of all, I'm believing God that what He started, He will finish. And I believe that this book was His idea. Anyone who's known me for at least over a decade would know how almost closed off I can be, almost how closed off I am. The vulnerability and the sharing is only something that God has been working on me recently. And yeah, and I guess sometimes He does that, right? He uses he uses the most closed off people sometimes to be the most vulnerable. And in the story, in my book, I am very vulnerable. It has been an uncomfortable process. It has been very uncomfortable, but I am glad nonetheless. I am grateful nonetheless. So right now, I met the deadline that I had set for myself to finish writing the book. That was on the 30th of June. And like I mentioned in the previous episode, it was not perfect. It was not necessarily how I wanted to finish. But, nonetheless, I sent out my manuscript to a publisher. And now, lo and behold, 2 weeks after or 3 weeks after meeting that deadline, in fact, almost a month after sending my manuscript, I am faced at a crossroads, which I am praying and hoping and believing that God will break through for me. But basically, after I heard back from the publishers and they had approved my manuscript and said that, okay, they will partner with me in order to publish my book. I mentioned in the previous episode exactly how they work, how that publishing company works. And I read through the contract and I looked at it and it got me to this point where I am now like, should I go forward? I expected this journey to be a little bit smoother. I expected that at the point where I finish writing and that I submit my manuscript, that from then on it will just be smooth sailing. But we've hit a bump in the road, but no bump is unable to be leveled in Jesus' name. The Bible does say that God will level the mountains in front of us, right? So I am believing and I'm trusting that He will do that. So with this particular publisher, I'm realizing that it is quite a lot of money to invest in them, and I've had to weigh my options. I've had to really think long and hard just how much I'm going to invest in this. And I'm actually realizing as I'm saying this that I'm grateful for the process that God has brought me through. Like I had mentioned in previous episodes, I've been working on this book for at least 4 years. Yes, exactly, just over 4 years, right? And it hasn't been an easy journey. It hasn't been an easy process, but I've had to learn a lot of things along the way. From the moment I started writing the book, I thought it would take me at least 3 months to finish writing it, right? But it didn't. And I'm glad it didn't because, like I said in previous episodes, that I had tried going a publishing route through another local independent startup publishing company, and that didn't go as well as I had hoped, and it was a risk. But what I think I learned then that God is teaching me to implement now is to do research. So to research who I'm working with and to really take the time to understand exactly what it is that is going to come out of the process of working with that person. And one of the things that God has spoken to me about is making the correct allies. So, I have not really been the kind of person who does research, who dives deep to understand, who's the person that I'm working with, what do they offer, right? In some instances, yes, in some instances, no, right? Let me give myself credit. There have been a few collaborators where I was like, actually, what is this company about, right? Before I collaborate with them. And I've really had to do that. I've really had to look at reviews, see, do a whole lot of research. And I've had to explore my options and look for other people because that amount of money that they want. So let me tell you, I mean, since this is about transparency and letting you in on my process, the package that I wanted, they've got four different types of packages. As to the services included in each package for publishing, marketing, whether you want ebook and print or whether you want ebook, print, and audio. And I want ebook, print, and audio, and I want the extra marketing tools or the extra marketing services that they have to offer. Although I was not necessarily convinced that it's all the while worth it, and also I was not entirely convinced that it will actually yield the fruit that I needed to yield. So that is something that I discovered in my research after contacting them and after going through the contract and everything. And it's 160,000 rands. That is a lot of money. And thankfully, because of that scary number and because of the fact that I have seen how they market their authors and I'm not entirely happy with it, I find it a bit old school, it got me to pause and it got me to ask God, which I had been asking but not as fervently, not as seriously. It's like you do something and you're like, God, do you really want me to go with these people? But then just going ahead anyway, not really pausing and waiting and waiting for his answer, which is something that I've had to do in the past week. I've had to contact my friend who's also my purpose coach and speak to her and tell her what was going on, and she gave me advice and she told me to pray about it, to take 3 days off or a week to pray about it and to do research and to seek God's face. And from what I have understood so far about the publishing industry, the book industry, is how things work. So you can either self-publish or traditionally publish, and if you're self-publishing, you can do it on your own or you can do it with a company that helps you self-publish. And what else? And also you can make use of a literary agent or not make use of a literary agent. So there's just a whole... Sorry, I just got a call and I don't know what happened to my recording process, my sound recording. Oh, great. It's still recording. Great. Okay. So it's just, a lot of things to consider. Luckily, in this day and age, you don't always need a literary agent. So that's good. So, these are all things that I found in my research doing lately, right? Over the past week, since I've had, to kind of consider where I'm at. And, if I'm totally honest, the only reason why I actually paused really is because I was trying to advocate for the funds, right? And I was approaching someone and I was typing a message and I was basically saying, hey, can you help me with this? I've done research about the company. I think I can trust them, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I've gone through this road before with another company and, funds were spent and, funds were not, I didn't get the services that I paid for. And I was, trying to be like, look, I think this time around it's a good option. And I found myself feeling like I was being untruthful. What I did is that I went on Google trying to look for the link to send to this person, and I Googled the publishing company, and I stumbled across my goodness, God is so good, guys. Like, God is so good. So in America, they have this business accreditation company. Like, what do you call like an umbrella company? I don't know what you call it, right? I'm kind of losing the word that I want to use. But basically, it's like an association of some sort where all these companies we are registered to that particular organization, and they rate the company, and they also allow for others who have used the company's services to rate. And I found a whole lot of bad reviews about exactly what I was worried about: marketing and whether the funds would be worth it. And a lot of people, one of the people said that they received a check, their royalties check, and they couldn't actually process it at the bank. This was rectified, but still it's just a whole bunch of things. It's like some people saying that they spent all this money, for them it's like $10,000. That's still a lot of money for them, right? I mean, 160,000 rands is a lot of money for us, but it's, as much as it's like a different number, different exchange rate and whatnot, it still felt like a heavy investment for American publishers who invested in their book through this company and did not feel satisfied for the amount of money that they spent. And some of them, or one of them, said that it's, that this company charges an arm and a leg. And I was like, how much how much do other companies charge, right? And I started doing research. I started doing all of that, as spoke to my purpose coach and all of that. And well, a week later, I have done research. There are so many publishers out there, traditional and non-traditional. Well, they call them vanity publishers, I think, right? Who basically help you self-publish, but you pay them. Traditional publishing, they take on the investment. You get a small percent, 10, 13%, 8% of the ownership of your book, right? Which to me just does not sound like a great deal. But I mean, it's a risk for the company. I understand that, but at least 20, 30% thing, But anyway, that's how they do it, right? And that's how it's been done for, I'm sure, many, many years. So, it's just praying about a lot of things and also coming across a whole lot of different companies who are offering different services at different prices. It's been a question to God: should I, find someone overseas in the US still, because I definitely feel like my message would resonate with Americans just as much as it would resonate with South Africans. Simply by the title of the book, everybody is talking about woke culture. Woke culture, I think, started in the States. Or it's the most popular in the States. It's something that's very globally spoken about. But I also feel like it's more so their problem, if I can say, more than it is South Africans, right? But I am a South African, and I do feel like there's a lot of things that I mention in the book that do resonate to South African people as well. But yeah, it's very specific to things that have happened in the States, movements that have come from the States, from the Western world, right? That have penetrated the rest of the world. So yeah, it's just like, okay, knowing that, what do I do? Would it still be as effective if I got someone here? Would they be able to get my book where the States could reach my book, could have access to my book, and not only just the States but also the rest of the world, everybody who's been affected by woke culture, or who believes in woke culture, or who is against woke culture, or whatever the case may be. But there's this conversation that is going around globally, and my biggest concern has been, will my interpretation, my commentary, my story, as I've been affected by woke culture, will it reach the people who have had the same questions, the same experiences, the same beliefs? Because I mean, at some point I was very much like woke. And that's just been the question that I've had to consider when it comes to finding a publisher. So as much as this is the last episode of this, obviously the story continues. I will share other things as it pertains to the process towards the publishing of this book. But that's where I'm at right now. So the whole point was to show that this isn't easy, that publishing a book isn't easy, not just writing it, but publishing it too is not easy. But I'm going to end off this episode just with a declaration of faith, that by the time you see this, I would have triumphed. I would have definitely reached my deadline. I definitely think that as much as I would have had to have more time to consider this, more time, I wish I had actually done this a year ago, or 2 years ago. But it's happening now, and look, I'm believing God for a miracle. I'm believing God that I've seen a whole lot of published authors, right, market their book like almost more than 6 months or 9 months in advance, right? And I believe that God has given me a specific date for the publishing of this book, and I believe that He will be faithful to ensure that even though I don't have 6 months, 8 months, barely even 3 months before the launch of this book, before the publishing of this book, to actually have the luxury to sit and speak to different people, different publishers, that He will allow me to have to go through that process, but accelerate that process. So I'm declaring that, Lord, You will accelerate the process, that as soon as I find someone, Father God, please, now I'm praying in front of you guys, that that I will find the right publisher, and the right publisher will be like, okay, cool, that's when you want to publish, then we'll make it happen for you, you know. And there are still so many unanswered things, but I believe that the answers will come as I move. And that's something that God really assured me through his word. I remember I was reading the book of Exodus in these past few days as I've been praying, and God told Moses to go and speak to Pharaoh. And, you know, bit by bit by bit, as Moses was like making his way, you know, telling his father-in-law who he was working for that, okay, I can't attend to the sheep right now. I need to go and go to Egypt, right? Go back to Egypt. That, you know, as he was doing that, as he was making the moves and preparing himself for what God called him to do, God kept speaking to him and giving him more insight and bringing in Aaron and sending Aaron to go and help Moses. And, you know, it's like I have felt so stuck, like I said in the previous episode, trying to find all the answers now. And it's like, I need to keep moving, even if certain things are unanswered, even if I'm aware of time moving, even if I'm aware of certain obstacles. I still need to keep moving and trust that God will give me the answers as I keep going, right? So I do have that assurance, and I'm glad that I feel that way right now, that I'm not bawling my eyes out and saying, oh guys, I don't know what to do. I do know what to do, and that's to keep moving. I do believe that God has spoken to me even in the what feels like hundreds of publishers that I found online, just by virtue of just reading their profiles, reading reviews. Just, you know, that elimination process has left me with 3 people to contact. And also looking back on some of the words that God has spoken to me. God had spoken to me at the beginning of the year / end of last year. And as much as I felt unsure and almost sort of weighed down by the crossroads that I'm facing right now, it's made me question whether or not God wants me to still go the self-publishing route and own my book. But looking back at the notes that I wrote down from when God was speaking to me about what this year should look like, and you know, they weren't specifics, but it was an overall message, or it was, you know, when somebody says to you, I don't know how to explain this, but he told me what it would look like, but he didn't tell me the specifics. I didn't know that I would have to reconsider my publishers, even though I'd been in contact with them for over a year, you know? So just going back to that, it's as if God knew that I would come. I mean, obviously he knew I would come to this point, but he specifically said that I should own the book, right? And it sort of just talked me down from the having to go back now to question, should I traditionally publish or self-publish so that I can own the book, right? So just, I'm grateful to God that he speaks to me in that way, that he speaks to me through the reviews that I've been reading, that he speaks to me through just, I guess, maybe a feeling of like, I'm not so sure about these people, looking at their marketing, that even there's one publisher in particular whose website is not that great, but I have one particular testimonial client that they have published their book for, who is very popular. If I told you her name, you guys would know. And her book was very controversial. And although their website is shaky, her book got to what it needed to get to, and it exposed things in this country that many of us didn't know about. And I am like, okay, that's good enough for me. Their website doesn't have to be perfect, but perhaps there are all these who are not necessarily clued up on having a cool website and a great Instagram page, but they do know how to get my book distributed and marketed in the right way, in the traditional way. And God also spoke to me at the beginning of the year, saying that I shouldn't worry about PR, because I wanted to look for a PR company to actually help me with that. But I'm having to trust God and trust the resources that He's led me to, in terms of, like, I've read blogs, I've there was one particular YouTube video that I watched, but I've just been doing a whole lot of internet research, finding out how self-publishers can do good PR for their book. And a lot of it seems doable. And you know what? I trust God to speak on my behalf. I trust God to, He gave me the story. He gave me something to share with you all, to help you guys heal, to help you guys come to truth, and to bring those who are not connected to Christ, to bring them to Christ. It's all His agenda. So, it will get to where it needs to go. And it's kind of scary me saying that, because it's like, whoa, you actually believe that. And I really do. It hasn't been easy, but I believe that, whatever needs to happen will happen, that this book will succeed, and that it will be published when God wants me to publish. And He said October this year, and it's July, it's nearing August. And it's like, this may not be the way it goes for everybody else, but when there's a miracle, there's a mess. So in this mess, there will be a miracle, and I'm trusting God for that. And I thank you all so much for being a part of my story, and I'm so glad that I actually get to do this, because nobody would have told me this. I don't know anybody else who has shared what I'm sharing with you right now. So maybe this is for someone who is aspiring to write a book one day, and these are the kinds of things that you need to consider, and you need to put God at the forefront of it all, and not take for granted that that there may be obstacles, right? And to trust God regardless of the fact that there are obstacles, and to do it anyway, and to push through, and to not be discouraged. Because, man, like I said in my last, did I say this in my last episode? I think I did, but I was really discouraged. I was really afraid of what people would say. I was really afraid of a whole bunch of things that even I don't think I was consciously aware of. I think I was just so paralyzed by fear that I didn't know what exactly I was afraid of. But I feel like I've gotten my fight back in these past few days, in the past week that I've been praying about this. I went to church on Sunday. I went and I visited my friend's church, friend/purpose coach. I went to her church, and her pastor has been preaching about courage, discouragement, and obedience, and just possession, taking on territory. And it's a scary thing, but it's a doable thing. It's doable because God is with me. It's doable because God told me to. It's doable because I can. It's doable because He's given me the anointing to do so. It's doable because He's given me the skills, the courage, the bravery, the everything. God has taught me to be courageous my whole life, especially in my career. I've taken leaps of faith that I had no idea where they would lead, and they got me in great spaces and places. So I can trust God. He has a track record, and I can trust His track record in my life, let alone in, what He's done throughout humanity, So yeah, I am confident in that. I'm confident that the next time, maybe I will record an episode 5. I don't know. But if I do record an episode 5, then it will be at the publishers. Maybe I'll be visiting their offices, or doing a Zoom call from the States, or I'll be going and I'll be taking videos of the printing process. I'll be recording the photo shoot, if there is a photo shoot, or the process of the cover, the book cover, right? And all of that, like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I didn't come here to say this, but lo and behold, there it is. There it is. That's how I'm finishing this episode. That although the road looks foggy, it doesn't mean that there is no road. There is a road, and it does lead to the destination, and that destination, I will get to it. Even if I don't see anything, I know that God is holding my hand and that He's guiding me through. So yeah, this is very encouraging for me to say this. So I hope it encourages you as well in whatever that you're going through. And I hope that you understand that this was not an easy journey, so it's worth it, right? So it's worth you getting the book in your hands, because clearly with all these obstacles, clearly somebody does not want you to get to this message. So clearly there is something in there for you to get. If I have to go through all of this, then clearly all this opposition and the challenges and whatever has been coming my way is because there is something powerful, something healing, something of breakthrough in the pages that I've written in my story that will lead you to God, will revive you in a way that nothing else in your life possibly has or possibly will, that it will catapult you in a way and give you the encouragement that you need to awaken to yourself, right? So thank you once again for being a part of my journey. Get the book, guys. Get the book. There's nothing more to say except just get it. And I'm excited. And I hope that you stay tuned and you look forward to what it is that I have to share with you guys in terms of the process, also in terms of how I will be releasing the book to you guys, the launch, the publishing, and as well as conversations that we're going to have, because it's not just going to end with the book. There's going to be a whole lot of conversations that come out of each and every topic and story that I discuss in my book. So thank you so much once again, and I will see you soon. Love you.